Sunday, and welcome to another edition of Late Night. Of course, a new type of setup, late night on Sundays. Just getting you ready for the week, and we having a discussion with the different political parties, which we have invited to come on every week. For this week, we had scheduled the National Alliance, the Democratic Party, the URSM, and the United People's Party. The National Alliance is a no-show. I don't know why they didn't show up. Maybe they're scared to talk to the people, but we are going to go ahead nevertheless. I did reach out to the National Alliance 3 times this week and receive no answer from them. So, hey, you can't force anybody to talk to the people, but at least the other parties were kind enough to come in and have a discussion about what's happening on St. Martin, and that's what matters. Of course, I'm your host, Andrew Rick. And today we are joined by 3 representatives of 3 political parties here on St. Martin. We have from the Democratic Party, Mr. Roberto Richardson. How are you doing, sir? Great, yes, you have to pick up the mic.
I'm doing great, Andrew. I want to be very, how should I go straightforward? Let me just say that I'm Ahken Roberto Richardson.
All right.
For those of you who don't know my first name, because it's so very important that I keep using that name in terms of where the direction we're going politically. But I want to just say I'm grateful, I'm humbled to be here amongst these other distinguished guests. Thank you very much.
All righty. And of course, from the United People's Party, Mr. Mark Mingo. Not to be confused with Brian Mingo, right?
No, it's Mark Mingo. No, I want to tell everyone, the viewers, hello. Sunday is a family day, so I hope I can share, my thoughts and my solutions with the topics. But I also want to welcome Mr. Martina, Mr. Richardson. Even though we're political adversaries, it's very important that we look for solutions and have discussions with the population to see where we can fix things or highlight information as well. That is very important. So, gentlemen, welcome, and let's get going.
All right, and of course, Mr. Martina from the one and only URSM party, the new political kid on the block, I should say.
Well, thank you, first of all, Andrew, for having me here to represent the URSM, which is the Unified Resilience St. Martin Movement. When you say new kid on the block, of course, it's the new party on the block. However, for those of you who know, I'm no stranger to the political atmosphere and arena. I too would like to echo the sentiments of Mark Mingo in joining our distinguished guest here, which is Mark Mingo, as I said before, and of course Mr. Richardson. I think this can be a healthy discussion, and brilliant minds here on the panel.
Okay, guys, let's jump into it. Of course, the cost of living on St. Martin continues to be a concern, specifically for the persons here living, documented, undocumented. It doesn't matter. The prices at the supermarkets do not discriminate. First of all, your take on how serious should the next government take this particular situation when it comes to the cost of living on St. Martin? Or do we go to a living wage? Do we increase the minimum wage again? What are some of the things that we should look at when it comes to at least alleviating this situation? We'll start off with Ms. Richardson.
Yes, let me just go right into that because the cost of living on the island, in terms of the minimum wage and the living wage. The minimum wage is a wage that is established by the government of a country. Let's just establish that the people of the country do not go into a direction of poverty. So it secures the poverty level for, let's say, the working class. Just want to just get that out of the way. And then the living wage is more from the approach that the people are able, within the realities of their community and the standards of living, be it whatever circumstances that they live in amongst themselves, children and what have you, or income, that the standard of living stays in an adequate level that they are able to survive. But as you said, the living wage should be more the focus than the minimum wage, because the minimum wage, Andrew, itself is something that has been discussed over the many years, over the many decades, and it is an issue, but it all stems on a lot of different things that has to be dealt with, and there has to be looked at in a broad aspect. But
Okay,
as we
like,
go in
like
that,
what? That's what I'm asking. Like
yes,
what?
Just for example, the minimum wage. Let's go for the minimum wage itself. The minimum wage has to do with the economic situation in the country, the economic situation
Yeah.
in the country, where we're at, and in terms of the value of what we can get, our purchasing value, for example, our purchasing value as an individual, and what can we do, or what can we purchase as an individual in St. Martin, and so we
You don't know. You would say which one would be your focus. That's what.
no
I'm
no no
asking.
no no. Which one
Living
I'm
wage
focused-
or
no no
minimum
no.
wage?
I'll be focused on the living wage.
Oh, okay,
The
so
living
living
wage. The living wage will be the focus because it also gives you the realities of the country that you're living in, so that you're able to see the people in your countries thrive,
Yeah.
the individuals thrive, and from that aspect. So I'll just leave it for that for right now, and
Okay.
then to go into to another area.
Let me get Mr. Martina in on this. What do you think, sir?
Let's just call it like it is when we're talking about the cost of living. What we're talking about, I think it needs to be really defined, okay? Now, when you go to the supermarket, already it is defined by I don't have enough money to purchase substantial groceries, okay? When it comes to eating healthy, when it comes to groceries, when it comes to rent, when it comes to basic commodities, okay? When you compare it to different Caribbean islands, right, first of all, the prices are astronomical. So we have to define what it is. There's a study done whereas 29% of the population here, or households here in St. Martin, live under $850, okay? That's 1/3, basically, of your population, or even more, lives under $850, okay? By the time you pay GEBE, by the time you pay groceries, by the time you pay rent, you know, what is there left, okay? There's no savings, there's no, it's just a basic, you know, expenditures. You live in order to purchase.
Solutions.
Okay, great. Now we define the problem. Solutions, as Roberto said, we're talking about the minimum wage all the time. Okay, it has been debated in Parliament.
Yeah.
Several governments have mentioned that, and of course, it is a political trigger.
Yeah.
Okay. However, I do believe boosting the economy, and there's certain ways on doing so, and we can get into that later on. However, empowering the people, okay, empowering them so that spending powers can be, you know, so that the people can have spending power and generate some economic flow. Talking about a living wage, I think that is where we have to go at, because a living wage, it sets the standard of how an individual would live in the country. And by doing so, we don't need to just, you know, come up and say, hey, this is the figure that we come in.
I was just about to say,
There's feasibility studies,
Yeah,
okay?
that needs to be done.
That needs to be done, and we need to utilize the different entities, all right? The SER, we need to utilize them in order to help us, in order to go and advance in this economical quagmire.
All right, Mr. Mingo.
So I've listened to Mr. Richardson and Mr. Martina. Am I going to answer based on putting on my cap as a candidate to become a parliamentarian?
That's the idea.
let me-
Well, it's more of the party stance.
Correct.
So yeah. So if you
I
could
like to
combine
to
that would be
answer. Yeah, to answer, because I don't want it also duplicate. You know, I agree with the cost
Yeah.
of living.
Yeah.
The issues with you know, where are you in
The
know,
minimum
poverty
wage, yeah.
state? We all know there's a poverty gap that also comes from the United Nations. I also agree with Mr. Prince about the SER report. I read the report several times. I know the inputs of the report. But very important, as becoming a parliamentarian, as a candidate, it always starts by the start reckoning from St. Maarten. What is the responsibility of government? When you look at Article 22, it clearly says what actually you need to do as a government, what you're responsible for the, let's say, the people who are living on St. Maarten, so the voters in by de facto. En I'm going to say it in Dutch en dan translate it. De aanhoudende zorg van de overheid is gericht op de bewoonbaarheid van het land en de bescherming en verbetering van het leefmilieu en het welzijn van iedereen. So, end of the day, it's not only the standard of living, but it's also how do you protect that standard of living. And then you can go into very detailed discussions, and then how you're going to come with a solution. One of the solutions, when you read the SARE report, is, the minister has just increased the minimum wage to, everybody puts up their eyes and say, yeah, it's only a guild of 10.
A couple of cents.
But there's also a legal procedure with LBs, and very technical. But that has been going on for the last 10 years.
Yeah, but the
It goes
prices,
up.
Correct. In the supermarket are not technical.
So let me finish. So then we have the inflation, because the inflation rate went from 2% per year or per quarter to average 6 to 8% per quarter per year. So almost 9%. For example, synthestasias is 9% inflation per year. You imagine that. So what are you going to do then as a solution for the minimum wage? Let me stick to the minimum wage. Based on the SARE advice and also the advice what we had on the SARE in Aruba, they were looking at a second-tier income. So you're looking at a second additional income on the minimum wage or pension. And then we get, of course, I remember my last talk show.
The side hustle.
The side hustle.
That's
But
what
wait
you're
a minute,
talking about.
there's also a side income for the pensioners. Because don't forget, we also have to differentiate two pensioners. We have to differentiate the ones which have saved up, which every year when they were working, they saved up with additional policy, for example. And then you also have the ones which fall into the bracket of, they weren't living on St. Maarten 30 years to get the full AOV, and then they only get half. So you have somebody who has only 400 guilders a month and maybe don't have family members. So it's a very complicated.
So you would say combined?
No. What we have to do, and that's where Mr. Prince came, Mr. Martina came back as well. In the SARE report, there's also a kind of poverty study. Then you also had Mr. Jessurun. He said, per household, you need minimum 4,000 guilders per household to be able to live on a level. That's all documented.
And that's far from the 850.
Well, that's far from the 8, so there's
Yeah.
a hole. So, but you have to address that. I said that from the beginning as well. Government needs to publish this data.
Yeah.
Because if you don't publish it, we don't know if it's 10%, 15%, 30%. So we might be throwing, let's say increasing the fire. Maybe that group is not that big. But out of the complaints, you're seeing there's a big poverty gap. That's a word we need to use. What is the poverty gap? And that's, of course, also a jargon word. But, for the families who are living and hurting, the average salary for a household to have a reasonable living, so the acceptable living income is 4,000 guilders per month.
Okay.
So, and then there's a huge gap. And I think that's where the solution and the challenges are, because let's be honest, with 1 guilder increase per let's say per hour on a minimum wage doesn't do anything much.
Okay. You'd like to add?
Definitely. What he's talking about with the bijverdiening, additional to what you get.
Yeah, side hustle. That's what I like to call it. I call it side hustle.
You call it a side hustle, but some people wouldn't appreciate that term. But let's call it what it is, okay? It is a side hustle.
Yeah.
I think that is a way of looking at it as well. However, when we talk about the 4,000 guilders, okay, per household, you need that minimum, okay? That is when you cover all your expenses. We're not talking about saving. So can you imagine $850, okay, compared to 4,000 guilders? That is a big disparity, okay? And this is where we need to get serious as government, and you need to protect your people. As he said, Article 22, okay? It's not only assessing the situation, combating the problem, but also future to protect your people and to continue this trajectory.
Is government doing enough, Mr. Richardson, as far as the minimum wage is concerned, or at least establishing a living wage?
That's a very complex question to answer. But you know what, Andrew? I came here to this program to really speak to the people of St. Martin, speak to the realities.
Yeah.
And I want to get folks into that because I got to be real in this setting. I made some notes that I need to stick with because after we've played this to the public, coming out of this discussion, the people of St. Martin need to understand, get clarity as to the minimum and the living wage. And I want to just do that as a member of the Democratic Party. And so I want to just go to my notes.
Okay.
Because I want that when this program is over, the small man on the street can understand what we're talking about here, because we can just talk above their heads and we get out of here. It will be just a good, a great interview.
Yeah.
And then still the people of St. Martin wouldn't understand where we're coming from. So I got my points. So I just want to just stick to my points. And then, so I'm going to just do that.
Yes, do that.
So let me just quickly go to that. Living wages are always based on your living realities, while minimum wages are always established by law, by labor law in the particular country. Just get that out of the way. Then I also want to go into when it comes to wages, or better said, earning an income to survive, live, get by, financially support oneself or your family. There are so many things that can potentially affect or interrupt this way of life. Because I want to just stick with St. Martin, because these are the realities of St. Martin or any other place in the country, in the world, for a matter of fact. It can be the closing of your business or employment, because I want to just get into the nitty-gritties and the facts of the matter. You know, it can be the closing of your business or employment, being laid off for whatever reason, being fired, financial recessions, a war, health calamities, natural disasters, incarcerations, medical reasons, along with prolonged hospitalization, etc. These are all the areas that I want to just touch on. And the economic growth or economic recessions can also affect the minimum wage. Cost of living increases can affect the minimum wage. So what am I trying to say here with all this? Because I'm just going to get to the point. Dialogue between all key stakeholders, being government, the private sector, employers, and employees represented by the labor unions, are of utmost importance in order to achieve win-wins for all involved. And these are some of the things that we needed, because how do we solve this? We have to come together with all parties, be it the employer, the employee, government, labor unions, the private sector, and all of that, so that we can deal with this, because the realities are there. The economic growth of the country is also a factor. But how do we deal with all that? And that is why we need to come together to sit on the table and get it there. But I want to go into some other areas, but I'm going to allow the other speakers then to just go into that.
Say, don't give me all your
because
notes.
because I'm going to because you see what, because the whole idea, Andrew, is that I want us to come out of here, and for us, definitely as a Democratic Party, we want to be able to be firm as to our position in terms of the living wages and what the realities are for St. Martin and how we can really get out of it.
All right. Is government doing enough? I want to hear from the URSM and also the United People's Party. Thank you, Mr. Richardson, for that answer. But we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we hear from the United People's Party and the URSM. You're watching Late Night Sunday. We'll be right back.
To brag about. She has been so good to me, I will boast and I will shout. St. Martin, I will praise you, I am proud to be a part. I will sing to the top of my voice, I love you with all my heart. With all the hurricanes that we have suffered over the years, you still strong, strong, strong. Though COVID Martin, for always staying on track. I say, thank you, St. Martin, for bouncing back. St. Martin sweet, St. Martin nice, St. Martin complete, St. Martin is a paradise, St. Martin strong. Salute, you pass the test. Salute, may you live long. Salute, St. Martin, you're the greatest. St. Martin, I confess that we are truly blessed. No one can contest. You're the best. You weathered every storm. You suffer through the harm. You give thanks for every calm. You're the bomb. St. Martin strong. Thank you. May you live long. Thank you. I go sing my song. Thank you. St. Martin, you are number one.
Welcome back to Late Night Sunday. Of course, we left you on a cliffhanger. Just wanted to get the answers from, let's go with the UP. Is government doing enough when it comes to the living wage?
Well, Andrew, my minister is in government, so I'm going to have to answer. But
That's what I
just to share also with the families who are watching on a Sunday and looking at this show, this is a serious issue we have. Listen, 94% of the households are living below that 4,000, let's say, minimum acceptable wage to survive. 94%. That's what I'm speaking to, the 94%. I also heard Mr. Richardson talk about win-win. Listen, there's no win-win right now. There are only losers right now. The people are hurting. And I'm going to reach out to those people as well, because my minister today, as we speak, is actually, that's his portfolio, Minister Otley. I also want to, by the way, thank him because he took some time out with me to also share with me information. How is he proceeding and how is he going forward? Let's be honest, the DP party was in government for a while, and I'm not here to blame the DP party, but I'm here how we're going to move forward to fix those issues. Minimum wage, we talk about the side hustle for the people who are working, the younger people are working, and we're also talking about the pensioners who, look, in Aruba, for example, you have, but let me step back from that because I have to share with you what actions were done by the minister.
Okay.
First of all, he, of course, made a change in 2022 with minimum wage. There is a maximum he can change at a time, and that has to do with budgets or income or legislation, LBs. You need to change the LB, which is a CPI-driven.
So
I don't agree
he's
with
doing enough.
So he's going into the right direction. But don't forget, if you haven't done something in 10 years, and then I'm looking at Mr. Martina, they're the new party, they agree with that. I think Mr. Martina used to be a member of the National Alliance, which was an established party. And then we need to look at how we're going to move forward. So Minister Otley, our working minister, yes, he's going in the right step, in the right direction. Okay. Minimum wage, step taken 2023, it went up. I think it's 9 guilder 95. Don't hold me. Yeah, 9 guilder 95. Mm-hmm. To be precise, for the population, I did some homework. It's 1,725 guilders per month.
Yeah.
Give an example, and that's an example. Center stations, for example, is $1,446. But that's a different setting. That's a different structure. That's within the kingdom.
Yeah.
So that is one. What the Minister Otley is doing. He told me as well. We had a long discussion about that. The CPI is a problem. The CPI is only by law regulated to change per month in August. They tried to look at it per quarter, but that failed because the fees came back negative. So he's struggling and fighting with that. So that is the feedback from Minister Otley. The second part, senior actions, what he's doing for the seniors. When we had that discussion, and the discussion came actually on 3 levels, there were a lot of home repairs for vulnerable groups, which included the seniors. I don't want to get into the numbers, Andrew, that's one.
Yeah.
But then also the phase of pension, which is pending. He's busy with that. And then you're also going to get an increase in the ROV.
Yeah.
The problem with the ROV is it's a legal generating complex structure. I mean, Mr. Martina knows that the ROV with SZV, and look, this is going to be going on for years. What the SED was suggesting is coming with a second tier additional income. And that basically means that the people who are working today should pay more. And then you're going to get that. Listen, then we're going to need 2 more programs. We're going to explain this process. But what the minister is doing, he's pushing hard to change legislation. And that's usually done with LBs, Laws for Ordering. For the listeners, that's a legal document which needs to go to the governor and come back. You know where there's a difference? It has to come back, change, and goes back up again. But the minister has just arrived. Our working minister has just arrived when he started 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and he's cleaning up pending matters. So that is what I can share with the listeners in which direction it's going. It's easy to say, listen, let's increase it with 25%, 30%, but we all know that the income of government is limited. We also know the spaghetti legalities. Alone, just to change something, you need an LB, you need approval. It goes up and down, then it goes to Parliament. I follow that process. So that is what I can add from the UPP side, from Mark Mingo's side, what the minister and myself have discussed as well.
All right. Before we go to Mr. Martina, let's take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we go to the URSM. Okay, stay with us.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do.
No, you need to go.
Princess Juliana International Airport.
Alrighty, welcome back to the late night Sunday, of course. We just had to excuse Mr. Roberto Richardson from the Democratic Party as he had an emergency to go deal with. So we will just continue the program nevertheless. Mr. Martina, is government doing enough? I heard, the excuses he was making for his minister there just now.
No, I wouldn't call it excuses. I would be fair and say that he's doing something. He's heading in the right direction. What the honorable minister is doing right now is basically low-hanging fruits. All right, doing different stuff that can be done attainable. Let's face it. Okay, this was in the pipeline for 10 years, and yes, it have a lot to do with different LBAs and everything. However, I want to make mention that there is so much more. Mr. Mingo alluded to the fact that the minister, when it comes to seniors, remember he signed that that whole thing with the seniors getting their money on time and stuff, right? And then we see that it went straight back. Now, he did what he had to do. However, I don't think as the minister alone, it is an interministerial working. And we have to remember this, okay? The minister alone as Minister of Economic Affairs, okay? Let's face it, there is so much in Dutch they say aftakingen, okay? And it is intertwined with so much ministers, okay? Mm-hmm. So I believe that the minister can be performing excellent, but once his minister partners, let me put it this way, right, are not performing to that level, it defeats the purpose. So you're billing with one hand and breaking with the next, in my opinion. All right? Why I say so? Because government should not be working in silos. okay,
Yeah.
or ministries should not be working in silos. There is a
But,
little
but what about the ministers being able to handle the day-to-day affairs of their ministries? And of course, there's different dealings, there's different sectors that they have to deal with. They have different responsibilities. He has labor, he has health, he has social insurance, social. So I mean,
as you call him, the minister of everything, right? I've been listening to your show, Andrew, all right? And you're setting a trend. No, but let me just put it this way, okay? The minister at one point, he was holding down two
portfolios, that's correct.
Okay? Yes. Let's go in the beginning. Why wasn't he considered minister candidate from the beginning, okay? Because the coalition, which was the UPP and the NA, they came together. They are the longest sitting government.
Yes.
Okay. Why wasn't he minister candidate in the beginning? Okay.
That's a good
Why
point.
did it take a year and some months in order to get minister candidate? That's one. Secondly, you are a minister, okay, and your whole how do you say, the working together is not cohesion. It's as though he is outshining the other ministers, okay? I'm going to say plain out. What we're seeing is steps in the right direction. But there is also other things that can be done. Let's say, what about food security? What are we doing in order to feed our people? Should a natural disaster come, okay? What is there when the containers are not coming as frequent, okay? Are we going to go and purchase land overseas, you know, and stuff in Suriname? Okay, those are the things that was not well thought out. Now, I agree that you can trust Sprott out there, right? But in order to make a decision like that, or in order to make a policy, a rounded policy, you need to involve the stakeholders.
Yeah.
And that was not done.
Yeah.
So we can see ways where the minister is performing real well, but we can see that it's lacking.
Where it's lacking.
Okay?
Okay.
And I'll be fair.
okay.
So more can be done.
Yes, more can be done, Mr. Mingo.
May I rebuttal?
Of course, yes, you can rebuttal.
Well,
It's
you
a
know,
discussion.
You know, the good thing about it is it sounds like Mr. Martina, you know, he's interested in being part of the coalition with UPP. But no, I'm just, no, look, just to, it's you know, it's to share the information. We all know the hiccups about the new Minister of TIAT coming in. I think Minister Otley had, I mean, to do one job is already difficult, so to have two ministries is a lot. But again, it's also about a let's say, team effort and how do you deal. Because if the Minister of Labor makes a decision, for example, increasing the pension age, he needs the help from Minister of Finance.
Definitely.
And if Minister of Finance have a shortage and they have the safety looking over his back that there's a shortage, then you get into that discussion back and forth. So, you know, good thing what we agree on is that the minister is doing good. He's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right direction.
I think...
But this is not about the minister.
No.
Let's not make
And-
it about the
and no,
minister,
the-
please.
the
It's
minis-
it's about, you know, how can we get minimum wage, cost of living in a better direction in this country.
So correct. So I don't want to focus only on the minister, and then you're right, Andrew. But we have to focus on the actions he did. And,
Yeah, of course.
And he did a lot. Of course, you're going to be easily be put in the spotlight if you have two caps on. And you know, still, besides the issue you have with the hospital, for example, because that has an impact as well. The cost of living. Then we talk about cost of living. And one of the stuff we didn't discuss as yet, or what came out of the SARE report as well, is where are the discounts for the people who are with pension. In Aruba, you have the program that they take, for example, a bus. It's discount. They don't pay anything to go on let's say, transportation, public transportation. And there's also a heavily discounted goods, you know, supermarket goods for those people. So the program is not complete, but it's going in the right direction, but still a lot needs to be done. Because also the SARE report says it makes no sense to go and increase, for example, minimum wage with a guilder or 5 guilders, but you have to look at a total overall contribution. How does it work with the economy? How does that feed back in the budget? So it's a very complex discussion. But I think one of the other areas which I think we can work harder on are the discounts for the pensioners when it comes to buying stuff, because you also have to reduce the cost of living. And then we haven't even touched base on GB, because that program has stopped. I understood that program has stopped on discounting the usage of electricity and water for the pensioners.
Yeah.
So, but for me, look, I think it's going in the right direction, but it also needs to be also put more in a mapping type of action plan, and that's where I think Mr. Martinez is right. That's a total strategic document from a government.
Yeah, it
and
has-
that should be published.
and everybody
then
have to
when
be
it's
involved.
published, you get the stakeholders automatically also reacting. I was not there with the stakeholder meetings, but I know normally there were stakeholder meetings. But I think that needs to be pushed more forward. And we should not forget, look, we are coming out of a deficit as well with the pandemic. I also said you cannot use that as an excuse anymore. But, we're also playing catching up for the economy to catch back itself, because we're not up to par yet.
Yeah.
So that is what I can add, Mr. Andrew, on the rebuttal. But my minister is, he's working hard.
Okay.
Let
Yeah.
me just answer this very quickly.
Yeah.
I am happy that Mark Mingo, and I see that, when you talk, a man that is in touch with realities, what he said, we can't use the pandemic any longer as an excuse, okay? And those are the things that I want to hear people saying. I want to see people taking responsibility and really owning up to what they were or they are paid to do.
Poverty level on St. Martin, of course, is very, very bad, especially for 16 square miles, guys. When you compare it to the different islands, you hardly have as much as we have in St. Martin. Of course, statistic-wise, you have different scenarios for different islands. But for 16 square miles, how is it possible that we're not able to combat the poverty situation, specifically for the senior citizens, that have to go through receiving 500, 600 gills a month and still have to pay utilities, groceries, and actually live on a daily basis. So I wanted to take the poverty subject and ask your opinion on that particular topic. Mr. Martina.
Again, assessing what is really going on, okay? And it's not about blaring the problems,
Yeah.
okay? But let us put reality where it is. The seniors, we treat them terribly, forgetting that one day we too will be seniors. And we're seeing different parliamentarians or different elected officials who are up in pensionable age right now, all right? But their bread is buttered on both sides. So I think it needs will. It needs not only political will, but it needs empathy as an individual, as a legislator, okay? Don't tell me we can't come up with innovative ways in order to combat the poverty that our seniors are facing right now. One of those examples, we see that MP Grisha Heilige Maarten, who championed for, paying for vitamins and supplements for our seniors. That's going in the right direction, okay? Now we have the program that has been stopped, as Mark Mingo talked about, from GEBE, okay?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Okay? What are we doing? We just have to put in our head, listen, we will reach pensionable age one day, and some of us here sooner than the rest. I mean, okay, sooner than you, Andrew. Yeah.
Mr. Mingo.
Poverty, look, it's a, I won't say it's a jargon word, but it's a word being used too quickly.
It's flung.
Poverty, we weren't thrown into that yesterday. Poverty was created over the years, over the last 10, 15 years. It was caused by maybe a wrong strategy or a delayed strategy because our economy priorities were first. We first had to build the economy. That's where it started. UPP wasn't then so long back in government, but doesn't matter. We're not going to go in the past. We look at the future. I don't believe in short solutions when you're dealing with the issue about the elderly pension program. I don't believe in shorts. I'm a person, I believe in when you fix something small at the top, it's a big change with, for example, the problem with pensioning. So we need to fix it. But the SER said as well, we still haven't calculated the poverty gap for St. Maarten, because St. Maarten was not last on the list of poverty in the Caribbean. We were somewhere in the center or even above in the center. So we need to take that as a point of departure. Don't make the viewers believe that that we're poor, because we also have the friend side of the island, which is more better socially
Socially.
equipped.
Socially
Socially
equipped,
equipped.
yeah. But we're-
so
but
because
we're
they're
not.
European, we're not.
Yeah,
we're
but
not,
we're not, yeah.
because we're not part of the European constellation. That's one. The second part of the poverty gap, don't forget our culture. We are very respectful. We are very proud culture.
I was
Usually
just
we
about to say
help.
proud.
We usually, if for example, if I had difficulties in the last years, my family helps me. We don't go out there and beg and make things worse or public. We all know it has to do with culture too.
Yeah.
That now is coming out now. That listen.
Yeah, but that changed. But that changed, Mr. Mingo, because you have people sleeping on the boardwalk. You have people sleeping on the streets.
Okay, so you're
that
right.
culture changed.
Okay, so no, not only the culture change. What you're seeing now, you're seeing cracks in our society. Cracks in society are created when there's not the economic minimum or economic equilibrium. Let me change that word, because that's different for the simple man.
Yes.
You need a minimum economic base. It's very simple. I was CEO at the harbor. I know that if I see a number less than 1 million passengers at the harbor, we have a problem. Our threshold by the harbor, minimum threshold, is 1.5 million passengers. We did the calculation. Same thing government needs to do with the pensioners. Make the calculation. That's what Sarah's saying as well. We haven't done part 2 of that poverty line study. And then here we go again. We waited now 10 years to do a poverty line study, but we've seen the people out there bleeding.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's reality problem. Reality, we went in countries, Maarten, being a second-year law student. Listen, that is a legal spaghetti, I'm saying that. But then you're out there. I saw Minister Otley, by the way. You don't see my minister is working. I saw me have to go by the hospital and solve some kind of issue when it comes to helping people in the emergency room. I think that happened last week.
Last
No,
Thursday.
but that should not. So listen, that should not be. And I also, for example, in a hospital, I said we need more control and manage and supervise those institutions better, because they also have to contribute back to the covers, which eventually will fund the pensioners and the minimum wage issue. And then it comes down to, we use the nice words, integrity, good corporate governance. But I think, listen to Mr. Martina here. I think we're on one line, because I know Mr. Martina used to be on the social party, which is more national lines, but it's all about platform and the way we think. And I think how Mr. Martina is thinking, how we are talking, we're all aligned. You're looking at the economy, but somebody, end of the day, we still need to fix those social problems. And who's going to pay? Why we never said that government doesn't have money to pay for the pensioners and to pay for minimum wage? Why don't we honestly come out and say it? Then we get a solution.
What again I like about Mark Mingo is the fact that he talks about equilibrium. Okay, I would even go as further and say that the economic spread or the economic wealth is supposed to be spread equally.
Yeah.
Okay, it is not so that one group of people is supposed to be benefiting and then the rest are just trickling down. Okay, that's not how it should work. And when we talk about people sleeping on the boardwalk, when we're talking about all of those social cracks in our society, I could remember when I left to school, go to Holland, I would never see someone begging at the supermarkets. Coming here now, coming back, and we see people asking you for a dollar and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
We speak about proud people. We speak about not putting your business out there. But at this time, it is basically hell break loose.
Yeah,
People are hurting out there,
Yeah.
and especially when we go into the neighborhoods. And that's why it irks me, and I must come down and put on my political hat now. That's why it irks me. It bothers me when I see people, right, who are you won't see them in the different barrios, the different neighborhoods, right? An election coming around, spreading the love.
They'll put their boots on and they'll be there.
That really troubles me. However, it comes again with educating our people. And I must say, when we move from the whole Netherlands Antilles to country status, right? We had a deficit already, whereas our police force, everything, our government institution, tax system, central bank, which is still coupled. But I'm talking about all the infrastructure was left in Curacao. We had to build up from scratch, okay, to be quite honest. Not only that, but education, what are we doing to educate our people? Okay? I'm talking about a true education. We talk about, the teachers are the basis for our educational structure, okay? Because out of a classroom, you get CEOs, you get a host of different TV programs, okay? You get police officers and everything. However, how are we treating our teachers?
Yeah.
Are we giving them the motivation to, stand in front of a classroom and actually giving them the animo in order to teach? Okay, so I believe everything boils down to education as well.
Education.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we have our final segment of the Late Night Sunday program. Stay with us.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport.
Welcome back. Of course, we continue the program, and this is a very interesting conversation, gentlemen. Of course, you left off on education, should also be looked at. Mr. Mingo, response.
Yeah, thank you.
Quickly, please,
Quickly,
because I want to go to my last topic.
Look, education, it begins and ends by education. The reason I got successful, being a CEO is education. You look for solution. Mr. Maarten is also very educated. I'm talking now as UPP. UPP doesn't hold a portfolio for education. So maybe in the next setting, I hope next time the National Alliance can be here.
They can show up.
So
hopefully.
they can show up
Yes,
because
yeah.
it's very important discussion we're having.
Yeah.
For the second part, to rebuttal, not only rebuttal, but to also talk to the viewers about, I call it trickling down. The UPP party calls economic trickle down. And that was one of the issues the leader of the party had, Mr. Rolando Bryson, MP Rolando Bryson, within the restructuring or realigning of party vision. Because it started out as making sure you have an economy and it trickles down to the small man. That is what the philosophy was about. And that the philosophy is still about that. So, Mr. Martina is coming in as a new party, as you said, a young new party, which I applaud. But we are also from within. You have to look from a party perspective, along a sitting party, to change and also adjust to the issues in society. And that is what I'd like to say on that part.
Okay, but the leader of the URSM is not a newcomer.
No,
Mr.
okay.
Ning.
Well, actually,
he came from the UPP.
Okay, so
come on.
no, okay, no, but I don't want to get this. The show is not for me to
I
to point
understand.
fingers, but I also want to explain on behalf of the UPP party because I was one of the founding members from the beginning. What changed and the challenges. What happens also as well, and that's where you also see new parties coming up. There is a change in society. Move away from the culture. We have cracks in society and need to be dealt with.
Okay, so my final topic also relating to this, the cost of living and the minimum wage is also the situation with the teachers. And it's a good thing Martina mentioned also the COLA situation and the calculations. And, it looks like we've been having this problem within this government for the past 3.5 years because from the moment the government came in, you had the justice situation also, the requisity, they want to know their position papers, they want to know where they find themselves on the scale, also the way that they're supposed to be paid out, cost of living adjustment. So it looks like we have a calculating problem as far as, injustice being one, and also now in education, because, the COLA payment is due, but, we have to still calculate it and make sure that it's trickled down so that the teachers can get what they're owed. And then on the other side, we're hearing, we're going to pay between 3 to 5 years. Justice workers will be getting their, the monies that were owed to them. So, do we have a calculation problem in this country? Let me start, Mr. Martina.
Wow, that's a question, a loaded question, actually. I always like to say political will, okay? I believe that this current government was dealt a lot of blows, and we're not going to use a pandemic, but first of all, inherited a lot of Hurricane Irma's damage, I'm going to say so, also with the pandemic. I believe that this government has been very, very reactive, and I can imagine why, always trying to out fires. So the main issues that are at hand, okay, it took away, outing fires took away from basically governing, okay? Calculating issues, I think the calculations are there. I think that we should listen to our experts and stuff and go forward. I think it's about political will and not fooling the people. Be transparent. A lot of times when we hear, the function book is ready, and then it's not ready, and then it was sent to the governor and stuff like that, right? We're taking press releases and stuff, and no shots to anybody, right? But let's face it, okay? Is it ready or not? Okay?
Yeah.
Is it ready to be presented or not? Mm-hmm. We should move away from photo optics, right? And just deal with the issue at hand. Okay, so calculating problem, they should know if they have a calculating problem, yes or no, all right? When we talk about the teachers, okay, it is unimaginable, okay, that our Minister of Education was an educator himself, okay?
Yeah.
And that rings on the lips of all the educators that I've spoken to, okay? And that we can't resolve this issue, come on, what are we doing?
Mr. Mingo.
How long we have?
No, not long.
Not long.
Yeah.
Okay, just look. The dry book has not only, we talk about the function, but the dry book. The dry book we're using now as a kind of excuse for really answering what is at stake. Listen, if I owe someone money, which are the teachers, I don't need to go that we need to keep the teachers motivated. They're important. You have to be honest to say, listen, if you don't have the money, say you don't have the money and come with a solution. Because then you can come with an emergency measure, just like we did in the corona pandemic. We came with an emergency measure. It was approved by Parliament.
Yeah.
We can also come with an emergency measure to pay the teachers. That's one solution. The second part about outing fires, you better out a fire so it don't catch fire again. And that is a problem we're having. The word, I like the Dutch word, by the way, a little more. Draaiboek, for the viewers, means in Dutch. Turning, we're in a circle. We're drying. Again, the education portfolio, the Minister of Education is not a minister of the UPP party. Let me be clear on that. I can't recall if we ever had a Minister of Education. I think Rhoda Arundel, right? Rhoda Arundel. I think, she was very hands-on, but we're not going to go into that. And then as the third part, and that's what I like, what I hear from Mr. Martina, experts. If you look at the amount of money we spend on experts, and I know because when I was CEO of the Harbour, we had so much of legal cases. 1 year we had a budget, Mr. Martina, of $700,000 for a law firm.
Yeah.
And I think the leader of the United Party stood up, and I think last week said, let me stop dealing with all of these legal cases. If there's a merit, deal with it out of courts and focus on the issues at hand, which is the pensioners, which are the teachers, which is the police, and which is the issue of minimum wage. End of the day, it begins and ends by money. Where's the money? And you got to be honest. If I make an agreement with Mr. Martina and he delivers a service, I don't have the money, I'm going to go back to him and say, can I make a payment arrangement with Mr. Martina? Yeah. Mr. Martina is not going to say no, but he's understand because I'm going to tell him I don't have the money this month, next month, and the month after. But that is the essence of it. The draaiboek is not only figuurlijk, not only letterlijk, but also figuurlijk. It basically means we are now in a vicious circle. And that is, we got to be careful with that. I said it before. We have to be careful with that.
Yeah. I just wanted to make one thing clear, and I see Mr. Mingo here defending the UP to the core, and saying that
You wouldn't defend your party?
I would defend
Yeah.
my party as well, but
Yeah.
how can I defend my party when the party choose to go in a coalition with this same, the National Alliance? So it would be crazy of me to, be poking the National Alliance without basically poking the UP, because
Yeah.
they have
It's one government.
aligned
Yeah.
themselves. It is one government,
Yeah.
and if we continue to, to operate that way, then we see why the government is in shambles and creating different silos. I believe that if you are in a coalition, yes, there could be hiccups, but there's things that's going on right now that I'm thinking to myself, don't you have coalition meetings? Can't you hash those things out behind closed doors? It is crazy to me and to the viewing audience. I'm hoping that, you can't hash things out. And then within the coalition, then you have infighting within the party. Now, set aside, I don't expect anybody here to talk on behalf of their party other than the policies and what they're doing,
Yeah.
okay? Because we don't know each other's intention.
Yeah.
You can only hope for the best. However, let's talk now about the individual issues and how we're going to move forward as, individuals. Because I could be here defending the URSM to the core. Do I know the other intentions? However, I should know and when I deal and have a working relationship and intent that we are going to work together and at all costs.
Okay. Gentlemen, it was fun. Of course, I can't wait for you guys to come back. And we shall be, here throughout the entire process so that viewers can get an idea, at least an expectations of what the different political parties have in common, what they don't have in common, different standpoints. So thank you so much for coming. And closing remarks quickly, Mr. Mingo.
I'm not going to respond on the political, discussion which part. I think the leader needs to respond, the UPP leader will respond, MP Rolando Bryson. But I think it's very important that we have these sessions. We have now some time before the elections.
Yes.
For the viewers, I thank you also, Andrew, for taking the initiative. I'm sorry that Mr. Roberto Richardson had to go on emergency. I hope everything is okay. But I think it's very important that we also show the voters or the electorate or the people of St. Maarten that we're here also to share differences of opinion. We're also here to disagree, but also to make sure that we come with structural solutions. And that is what's about, because if you don't do that, information is key. And I think that's also missing in society nowadays. There's no the right information to share to give people hope as well. Give people hope as well.
Thank you. All right.
I want to say, first of all, thank you for giving us a platform here. I want to congratulate you on your candidacy. All right. I think that Mr. Mark Mingo is a real good candidate for this country. Okay. However, I want to tell the listening viewers that we are here, solution-driven. I don't know everything, and we don't have all the answers. However, with the help of the viewers, with the help of expert opinion, we need to come to a solution because St. Maarten is hurting. Thank you.
Mr. Herbert Martina of the URSM, Mr. Mark Mingo of the United People's Party, and earlier we had Mr. Roberto Richardson of the Democratic Party. Of course, next week we should be joined by several other parties. Hopefully they show up. Hopefully we'll be able to have another discussion where we continue informing you of what is happening on the lovely island of St. Maarten. Make sure to tune into the late night show. And of course, I'm your host, Andrew Dick. Until next week, have a good one.